Well, Greg Norman's breakaway LIV Golf League is finally primed and ready to announce Adelaide to host an Australian event next year. The PGA Tour has been quietly making its own plans as Australia transforms into a small-scale battleground of the golf civil war. In today's video, we'll look at how the PGA Tour is attempting to tee up the Australian event to strike back at LIV Golf, plus 5 rounds to remember in the 2022 PGA Tour champions. Starting with PGA Tour looking to strike back at LIV Golf. The PGA Tour is in talks to bring a second-level competition to Australia to broaden its global reach. According to sources familiar with the situation, the Tour has suggested that an event on the Corn Ferry Tour, the United States' secondary circuit, will be played in Australia. The Tour offers players the chance to advance to the main circuit and includes several Australians. Since the President's Cup in Melbourne back in 2011 and 2019, there have been fewer opportunities to see the best athletes in the world play in Australia. The controversial World Cup was held on these soils in 2013 and 2016. While Norman swoops in with a $35 million showcase that'll feature Australian Cameron Smith and major champions Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, and Sergio Garcia next year, the PGA Tour has yet to establish a top-tier event in Australia. In the face of LIV, which earlier this year signed the Open champion Smith to a reported $140 million contract, PGA Tour of Australia boss Gavin Kirkman has reaffirmed his commitment to the alliance with the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour. As Norman's Saudi-backed LIV concept rocks golf, Kirkman claimed he met with PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan in September and keeps in touch with representatives from the game's 2 biggest tours every week. The head of the Australian circuit has always stated that he'll keep pushing for a local course to be added to an Asian swing. Not to mention, they want to remain within the global golf ecosystem. Kirkman also spoke with Norman earlier this year, but they haven't had any contact with LIV representatives since, even after their brief trip to Australia earlier this year to look for a suitable course. Kirkman stated that all they want to do is make sure they stay within the global golf ecosystem and carry on what they've been doing for a very long time. Besides that, they also want to be acknowledged for producing champions who then go on to play on the biggest stage possible. While building champions, we are willing to host some of these important tour events here in Australia. If there's a Southeast Asia swing on the PGA Tour that includes Japan or China, he added that he wants to be part of that swing. We want the top 50 and top 100 players in the world to attend events of that caliber. He added that to maintain their position within the global golf ecosystem, their focus will remain on the tour, players, and their partners. 4 of the best players out of 220 play LIV Golf, but there are still 216 members for who PGA is responsible. They've got to open up playing opportunities and career pathways. LIV won't change what we want to do in any way. Moving on to the deflectors who will play the tournament. The most important summer of Australia's golf in years will feature homegrown stars like Smith, Adam Scott, and Cameron Davis, beginning with the Australian PGA in Brisbane later this month. And since a court case challenging their exclusion from golf's 2 biggest tours is pending, LIV defectors are permitted to compete because the tournament is co-sponsored with the DP World Tour. On his first trip to Australia in nearly 3 years, Smith will bring the claret jug back home. He will also be presented with the city's keys in Brisbane and attempt to set a Guinness World Record for the largest golf coaching clinic next in the upcoming weeks. In terms of local players coming home, Kirkman thinks that they've got probably the strongest Australian men's field they've ever had. Just having them return to their home country will be good, adding that the summer will be a great time to showcase the future of the game. The PGA of Australia has been a wonderful partner, according to Christian Hardy, Senior Vice President of the PGA Tour's International Division, and its partnership with the DP World Tour will help Australian golfers advance in their careers. What's more, Australia continues to be at the forefront despite challenges. Kirkman added that they look forward to enhancing their long-standing association. He claims that Australia continues to be a priority and they will support the development of golf in the region. Ben Cowan, Chief Tournament Business Officer for the DP World Tour, says they're excited to begin their 2023 DP World Tour season in Brisbane at the Fortinet Australian PGA Championship, reasserting Australia's importance in golf's global ecosystem. He also believes that it's encouraging to see 8 Australian golfers competing at the final stage of the qualifying school in Spain this week, with an opportunity to secure further playing privileges. He further added that he looked forward to working closely with the Chief Executive Officer of the PGA of Australia, Gavin Kirkman, to identify additional areas the DP World Tour and PGA Tour can continue to support and build on the work they've done to help grow the game in the region. Let's look at 5 unforgettable rounds at the 2022 PGA Tour Champions. Have you ever thought about what makes a great round of golf at the professional level? Well, a player must first have the lowest round of the day to qualify. Not only that, but throughout those 18 holes, he needs to outperform everyone. Let's say you're at least 2 strokes ahead of the competitor directly behind you. Next, importance should be taken into account. Although it's nice to shoot 64 in the first round and hold a 3-shot lead, but who really cares about all that if you come in at 11th? A great round should result in a win or at the very least a significant improvement in the player's situation. In light of those 2 factors, let's look at the top 5 rounds of the PGA Tour Champions in 2022, starting with Rocco Mediate at the final round of Dominion Energy Charity Classic. Thanks to the windy and chilly weather, it was a challenging day at the Country Club of Virginia for the Dominion Energy Charity Classic final round, the first of the 3 Charles Schwab Cup playoffs competitions. But Mediate shot a 64, which tied for the lowest round of the competition. On his way to 8 birdies and no bogeys, he hit 12 fairways and 15 greens. More importantly, Mediate moved from 39th place to a tie for 8th place in the competition and from 35th place to 28th place in the Charles Schwab Cup standings, all but guaranteeing him a spot in the season-ending Charles Schwab Cup Championship. Next up, Padraig Harrington in the 3rd round of the Charles Schwab Cup Championship. Simply put, there's a splendor to the simplicity of a head-to-head matchup that drowns out the noise and sharpens the focus. The 2022 PGA Tour Champions season finale, featuring Stephen Alker and Padraig Harrington, fits that description. Number 1 versus number 2 in the Charles Schwab Cup standings, almost joined at the hip throughout the 3-week playoff run. It was 1-on-1. After tearing through Phoenix CC in 9 under 62 to move to 21 under and gain 5 over Alker in the 3rd round of the championship, Harrington stated that the Charles Schwab Cup was his main priority, making it all but certain he'd win it, which he did. And this is why he's at number 4 on our list. Moving on to Stephen Alker in the final round of the KitchenAid Senior PGA Championship. Alker was 4 strokes behind Stephen Ames at the start of the game. He didn't even make it to the top 3, but after shooting in 8 under 63, he ultimately prevailed to win his major by 3 strokes. Even he thinks that it was his best round of the year. But he also added that the final round 68 at the Charles Schwab Cup Championship, although unspectacular, was pretty good under the circumstances. Let's look at Bernard Langer's 2nd round at TimberTech Championship. After posting the lowest round of the competition on Saturday and the lowest round of the day on Sunday to win the 2nd event in the Charles Schwab Cup playoffs, Langer broke his own record for the oldest player to win on the PGA Tour Champions. He outshot the competition with a score of 63, outplaying his age by 2 strokes. With only 1 victory remaining, he'll tie Hale Irwin for the most PGA Tour Champions victories. Lastly, at number 1, Fred Couples' final round at SAS Championship. The most strokes separated 1 round from the rest of the field, and it was the lowest round of the year for the PGA Tour Champions. In fact, it resulted in Couples' first victory since the 2017 American Family Insurance Championship on the PGA Tour Champions. The closest competitors shot 67, followed by 2 players who shot 64 and 1 who shot 66. This round had a full field as opposed to the other 2 on the list. Only 3 competitors managed to come within Couples' 7 shots. Couples finished the front 9 with the 5 consecutive birdies, parred numbers 10 and 11, then birdied in. Yes, that's 7 in a row. He made 15 greens, which was the most in the field. Simply put, the Hall of Famer put on an incredible performance. Well, that's a wrap for this video, so which was your favorite PGA round in 2022? Comment below and do let us know. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more, and we'll see you in the next one.